This video is a film study slash commentary with some of my thoughts on the Alex Anzalone situation, where he is in terms of value, and the contract that's due him for his final year. I think it's 6 million or 6.1 million as far as the cap hit. I think this Lions defense needs him. They don't need him the same way that maybe Aiden Hutchinson or Brian Branch. Third in the order, fourth, fifth, I don't know, but he's got a unique combination of skills, and that's what I want to try to highlight here. He's First of all, he's effective in pass coverage. Slightly unknown skill, actually, that I want to talk about later in detail, that I think is what he offers the best to this Detroit Lions team. I will show some film here. It's designed to provide you with some insight on his talent, his impact, what I think he does well. That's probably covered by so many others. This is 2023 stuff. I will be honest with you. You're welcome to check out and not proceed with the video if you think that's too far separated from tonight, right? Late July as I record this of 2025. I think he's extremely decisive and clear cut against the run, but he's also a guy who matches the tempo of the running back, slightly different from Derek Barnes. More so in the middle between Barnes and Jack Campbell. I'll try to do a little bit better job with that comparison a little bit later on. Anzalone's a guy that can usually be found near the bottom of the pile when the running back is tackled. 100 plus tackles in 2022 and 23. Didn't get there last year because of the broken forearm suffered in week 11. First of all, when I say he matches the tempo of the running back, he's really good, if you ask me, at determining quickly whether he should fill downhill immediately or whether he should stay balanced, square, if you will, in linebacker parlance, and give himself the opportunity to match the running back, whatever gap the running back happens to hit. Against the Rams, 2023 wildcard playoff game, in fact, he plays will linebacker, which is generally to the boundary, but the difference between Anzalone and a lot of other will linebackers in the NFL, in my opinion, is he could play the Mike. The Mike tends to line up to the field and have less pass coverage responsibility that's associated with man. The will linebacker normally is playing more man on running backs, and occasionally in Anzalone's case, he's actually matching up with tight ends. That gave Aaron Glenn and the defensive staff in Detroit the last couple of years tremendous versatility because they could line up with two safeties and not give away their coverage because Anzalone at times was expected to and in fact did line up effectively against tight ends. I want to talk about his ability to redirect. This is a boot play against the Chargers. It ends up being an interception by Kirby Joseph, I think. It's a boot play by the Chargers where he's going to redirect, basically match the quarterback's path. There's a lot of lines drawn there. Forgive me if it's too much on screen. Basically, the running back flow is going to the top side of the screen, the orange line. The quarterback's path, roughly illuminated by the yellow line, booting from the top side to the bottom or the left to right for the offense. And then the motion going across is Keenan Allen, obviously 2023 film. Like I said, he was still on the Chargers. And Anzalone, I just love how he redirects on this. He knows or sees, recognizes that the ball was not handed off because there was no mesh between the quarterback and the running back. So what I mean is there's too much space between the quarterback, Herbert, and the running back to actually have the ball be handed off. So Anzalone is actually veering off well before he sees the football as Herbert turns because he doesn't see the football handed off to the running back. It sounds like common sense, right? But so many guys would stay on this path in this direction a little bit longer than Anzalone does. Basically, he's got great recognition, mid-play recognition, if you ask me. And you can see the quarterback hit as the ball was thrown. And like I said, we got an interception down here at the bottom side of the screen. Like I said, I believe by Kirby Joseph. I'll give you the end zone angle of it so you can see Anzalone will be spot shadowed prior to the play. Forgive me that the spot shadow is a little bit darker than the rest of the screen. There's been some complaints about that. It's the program that I'm using. If it is too darkened on that spot shadow, my apologies, number one. Number two, let me know, and I'll try to find another program to do the production here. But there's the way that this works out from the Chargers' offensive standpoint, right? The running back going to our left, the defense is right, Anzalone's right. The entirety of the offensive line working that way as well. So what they're trying to do when I say the entirety of the offensive line working that way is to try and get a disciplined, smart inside linebacker seeing the running back and the offensive line all working in this direction to pull him, the inside linebacker, as far as they possibly can in that way, in that direction, our left on the screen or to Anzalone's right. What I like about this play from Anzalone's standpoint is he doesn't go nearly as far as the play fake is designed to give him. And I say play fake, I'm not just talking about the quarterback fake. I'm talking about the offensive line as well. Inside linebackers are generally, they have low beams on the offensive lineman, high beams on the running back, or vice versa, however you want to talk about it or teach it. And so the offensive line is a part of that fake there. Anzalone's just a guy with, if you ask me, people refer to it as awareness. I would say really it's mid play adjustability or versatility. He can adapt during the play quicker than a lot of other players at all three levels of the defense, in fact. Basically what I'm describing is he's got understanding of what's required in the moment, in the middle of a particular play. And to me, that's a skill that kind of separates him from some of the other inside linebackers that are on the roster. I'm a huge Jack Campbell fan. I wish I had gotten out a Jack Campbell video before training camp, but just things stack up on you. I think Anzalone's eyes are exceptional in terms of seeing it and reacting quickly. He closes down space really well on plays like this one, but leaves himself open to the possibility of fitting on the backside of the running back or veering off to the quarterback, like you just saw him do against Justin Herbert. I'll show a play a little bit later that I think fits with that description. Basically, leaves himself in a balanced position such that he can take advantage of wherever the play goes. To me, that's the essence of an inside linebacker. I think a lot of it, or a part of it, excuse me, is he has to have really high level film study and preparation. That alters a little bit each week, right? Between the specifics of the offense that you're facing. I think he's a guy who takes advantage of the tendencies and patterns that are there in an offense, and along with his change of direction skills, which are very good. And I have no idea what his combine scores were, so long ago. But on the field, if you ask me, he's got elite change of direction skills. It just shows up all over. Take a look at another play from 2023 that I think kind of gives you an example of the running back. Again, is going to work to our left on the screen. Anzalone's right. His path is initially illustrated by the blue line, and then he'll redirect when he recognizes that it's play action and not actually a handoff to the quarterback. I just love seeing a player's feet and hips be able to turn so many times, one, and then back against his own body's momentum. And if he didn't have such great agility, change of direction, actually is how I should describe it, he wouldn't be able to get a hand on this football like he does, which ends up being an interception for Jerry Jacobs. I think it's a play that really illustrates what he's capable of from a change of direction standpoint that is a little bit different from a Barnes or a Campbell, although Campbell has, at this point in his career, has two plays that kind of fit that description as well. One against the Chiefs, his first NFL game, week one of 2023. Same play from the all 22 angle. I showed you the end zone angle because I wanted you to be able to see or focus on his steps. You get less of an idea of it here. The play fake or the run fake by the running back, I should say, is illustrated again by the orange line. And then the route or the targeted receiver is Christian Watson. By the way, I think he takes a pretty brutal hit, but we're focusing on the pass deflection by Anzalone that leads to the interception. That's only made possible, in my opinion, by, well, first of all, his awareness, like I've mentioned a couple of times, but also his change of direction skills, which to me at the inside linebacker position, even still, is damn near elite. Now, I want to preface this next play, next two plays, in fact, with revealing that this is the hidden skill or one that I thought was undercovered. He's exceptional on secondary contain. And so what I mean is a pass play where he deals with his initial responsibility, whether it's a man or a zone coverage. But then at the same time, he's also got awareness of if or when the quarterback is able to get outside the pocket. And he, Anzalone, needs to go because for whatever reason, the defensive line, defensive end, whatever, wasn't able to contain the quarterback. Now, this is kind of an instinct thing, if you ask me. I don't think it's something that can necessarily be trained. You have to have great eyes, like I talked about in the first two plays, awareness, and then change of direction to be able to say, okay, my cleats are coming into the ground right now, and I'm gone at a particular angle because I have to contain this quarterback. To me, Anzalone is a step and a half quicker than many other inside linebackers across the NFL in this particular dynamic. Pass play, let me get in my coverage. Oh shit, the quarterback contained. Now I've got to go be the secondary contain guy. This is not a design blitz. It's a reaction during the play. And it's another way that I'm trying to show you. I think he's got extremely high awareness and ability to adapt. And in fact, I think that might be his best skill for this Detroit Lions team. I've said for a couple of years that I thought his coverage skills were very good. And this particular skill, however, I think is what separates him from especially the three guys that are on the roster. Malcolm Rodriguez, I know, is going to be, back midseason at some point, but Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes do not offer this same type of recognition and then ability to actually close the space and go get the quarterback. So if you'd lost track of him, here is Anzalone in the middle of the field. Like I said, this is week 1 against the Chiefs 2023. Barnes is tracking with the running back. I think it's Pacheco. Not discrediting Barnes for not being the guy to contain here. He's locked up in man-to-man. Basically, this is man-free. You've got man across the board with all of these matchups here. And then when we say free, we mean the inside linebacker is in the low hole, generally between the hashes. And then the free safety, in this case, it's C.J. Gardner-Johnson, like I said, back in 2023. The free safety is middle of the field, deep, in a cover 1 alignment. But Anzalone's ability to close the space is what I want to point out here. The one skill, one of the two skills, I should say, that makes him different from all of the other inside linebackers on the roster. So this gets me to my point. I think Anzalone has a point in asking for more money. I think that there is something to be said here for his desire to be paid a little higher, such because he does have such a unique skill that he offers. I'll show another play from 2023 that kind of gets to one of my larger points. I really like Derek Barnes. I wanted to do a film on Barnes in the offseason, but of course he missed so much of 2024. I think he's a tremendously underrated player, but check out the way that they're reacting here. You do have cross or split flow. So split flow, you've got the motion man going in one direction, bottom to top for us, right to left for the defense, and then the running back actually slipping out into the flat. So split flow, two players going in opposite directions. Barnes is matching, I guess, the motion man, but watch, it's Anzalone who actually ends up being the guy to stay with the quarterback and then go force an incompleted pass and get a quarterback hit. And he's the guy who's lined up on the wrong side to do this. So when I say wrong side, Anzalone is here to the left side of the defense, top side of our screen, and Barnes is here, the right side. It doesn't say anything negative towards Barnes. That's not my focus here or my attempt. It's to illustrate what I think Anzalone brings to this team. One of the two aspects he brings to this team that makes his ability unique, and that's secondary contain on the quarterback. Hopefully I said all that in a way that makes sense, and the two plays I picked to illustrate it fit the description I tried to provide. I think his coverage skills are very good. He's smart. He tempos the running backs perfectly in many cases. I think he understands the situation, meaning if it's 1st and 10, let me get more depth and allow an underneath completion versus 3rd and 3. Generally, he does play into the boundary as the will linebacker and covers running backs a lot, especially in terms of man-to-man and also matching their release in zone. Let me use one play to kind of illustrate my point here. It's a 3rd and 3 from 2023 against the Falcons. He's matched up in man against the running back, again, to the boundary. In this case, it's Tyler Algier. You do have kind of almost this pick shield dynamic existing with the number 1 and number 2 wide receiver. Pitts doesn't get a piece of him, and neither does Drake London. The ball's out, really quick. It's a great play, if you ask me, on a 3rd and 3 to tackle the running back, I believe, for only a 1-yard gain. Illustrates what I'm talking about, or what I try to talk about for his coverage, which is he's got tremendous awareness of the situation. That's a 3rd and 3. His reaction's probably drastically different than it would be for a 1st and 10. The coverage actually called in the huddle might be different as well. Same play from the end zone angle, and you'll see Algier is going to release immediately to the flats, to the boundary, and Anzalone knows, I've got to go right now. Really smooth job by him and Branch. Branch going over the top, allowing the space to Anzalone to go between Branch and Pitts. Pitts probably looks like he's confused about which guy he's picking. For some reason, he's picking Barnes, who is not the near side inside linebacker Anzalone. So Falcons fans and Falcons analysts would probably say it's more so a detriment or a fault of what Pitts was unable to accomplish there than crediting Anzalone. In my opinion, he puts himself in positions to make plays in the pass game, not interceptions necessarily, but to force running backs and even tight ends at times to have to make contested catches. He's also given Aaron Glenn previously and then the new defensive staff an opportunity to put him on tight ends in man to man situations such that he can provide adequate coverage. It's not to say that he has not been beat in those situations. I can think of 2 times when Hawkinson's been able to beat him in the last couple of years, but unfortunately for the Vikings, the passes fell incomplete. I think Anzalone provides a dynamic that, and I'm not trying to create division here. I think extremely highly of Campbell, Barnes, and even Rodriguez. But I think hopefully the film that I have provided so far should give you an idea of why Anzalone thinks he could get a new contract. First of all, the 2026 salary cap situation is very different than this season, right? Maybe Anzalone sees the available money right now and wants to capitalize it. It would make sense, right? I'm just saying that I understand it more so now after going through the production process for this video, given that he's got 2 underrated skills. And then another one I think that we'll get to here now, which is his ability as a blitzer. Doesn't have tremendous impact in terms of total sacks, but what he does provide is to the boundary, allowing the Lions to maintain the boundary side safety in a high alignment, a deeper alignment, because he can and often does cover tight ends in a man-to-man delineation. That's not what occurs here. Post snap, Anzalone is spot shadowed there. This is going to open up wide up. This is about as simple or easy as it gets in the NFL, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this one illustrates any significant high-level pass rush moves. What I'm trying to explain is that his ability to cover tight ends into the boundary can allow Detroit to hide some of their blitzes a little bit better or a little bit more efficiently because he's an actual coverage asset, which is very different from a lot of other inside linebackers, even will linebackers that play to the boundary and are accustomed to playing man to man. This is a little bit of a stunt mix up, I think, here by the Lions, in fact. But in any case, it ends up being his second sack in a game. I think he had 3 in 2023. Anzalone, to me, has a better usage as a blitzer as part of a stunt, creating confusion and oftentimes soaking up blockers. His change of direction skills as well is something that I want to focus on. I talked about in the Packers game. He's got great range. So here's another example of it. That same game against the Falcons, play action pass concept. You can see he goes downhill to his right with Barnes. They're reacting as a tandem. So Anzalone at this angle, Barnes the same angle. Everything looks very well coordinated from that standpoint. Sorry for that. Then the change of direction comes into play. He actually ends up back all the way back on the hash and then on the screen into the boundary to Bijan Robinson. It is Jack Campbell and then also Anzalone making contact. I think he's got great range, change of direction ability. His athleticism, the first time I noticed it was when the Ravens went to Detroit in 2021. Of course, my connection to the Lions team at that time was non-existent. And leading into the game, I really didn't think that highly of Anzalone's skills just based on the limited film that I had watched. Because, of course, that game did occur early in the season. But after the game, seeing him fly around so much, I had a totally different opinion on him. And then being exposed to more film of Anzalone and the Lions defense mid to late 2022 and then the last 2 regular seasons, I think there's a case to be made here for him to ask for more money. Another play against the run that I think you can kind of compare to that quarterback hit pressure against the Chargers and Herbert that led to the interception. The same manner of tracking here. Basically, fitting on the back side here. Once the running back cuts this back underneath of or off the backside of all these blocks, Anzalone hasn't overcommitted himself. He hasn't gone too far. He doesn't get caught up in the trash. He fits off of it. To be honest with you, if I was to talk to young inside linebackers, I'd say it's pretty easy for you to stay behind the ball, which is what our term was on the backside hip or 1 yard distended off the backside hip. Anzalone does a lot of things to me that look like borderline teaching tape in terms of reaction to run plays and then giving himself the ability to redirect with the quarterback. His physicality and commitment, really there's nothing negative to say about it. This is a kind of a read option play by the Falcons. So the quarterback and the halfback, fullback, are both reading Aiden Hutchinson. And since Hutchinson steps down, takes himself to the dive back, the running back, the tailback, Anzalone is left in almost a 2-on-1 situation with Hutchinson redirecting. And I just like how Anzalone is able to take on the block by the fullback, who had a full head of steam, a full run here to go get Anzalone, isn't able to knock him off the ball too much such that Anzalone can't redirect, get to the quarterback, and make a tackle just before he gets a short gain on the play. I used 2023 film for dual purposes. Number one, I think he's the same player. In fact, that will be leading the way for this defense in 2025. And number two, it's film that I can show and don't have to worry about copyright issues. I have no idea what 2025 will look like from that standpoint. I think that it says a lot about him that he's in camp and and said he's not going to sit out any games or miss any time. I am glad. I applaud the fact that Derek Barnes was extended or given a contract. Anzalone to me does two things really well that Barnes, Campbell, and Rodriguez just do not, and they don't have film of it in their career. Let's put it that way. Do I think that Anzalone should get 10 million a year for 3 years? No, I don't. I don't think the Lions can afford that. Number one, I'm not worried about that. To be honest with you, I'm not worried about his age either. I think he'll play well in 2025. I don't see any reason why he couldn't play well in 2026. From a selfish standpoint, rooting for the Lions, I would hope that Anzalone could get a 2 year deal that kind of loads things up more in 2025, right? Basically, affords him more money in 2025 than he is set to be given this year, and then almost maybe reduces that for 2026. But right, that might not be in the front office's plans at all. They want to retain flexibility for this year, I'm sure, in the event of injuries. So there's a tough or difficult balance. Like I said, I do respect Anzalone for indicating that he will not sit out any games despite being unhappy, because he did sign the contract, right? From that standpoint, he wants to honor it. So I'm glad for that. And I think his versatility, coverage skills into the boundary, compared to other guys, warrants at least consideration for what he's asked for. Now, Barnes does give you a reasonable facsimile of that with respect to running backs. I mean, not tight ends. Barnes does not match up with tight ends well at all. That's a big difference in coverage. And as I said earlier, I think very highly of Derek Barnes. I'm glad that he's healthy and returning for 2025, and they've got him secured for long term. I think the Lions could get a lot of traction out of almost maybe a 3-3 look instead of 4-2. And what I mean by that is 4-2 would be two defensive ends and two D tackles, and then two inside linebackers, 4-2. 3-3 would be two defensive tackles, a D end, in this case Hutchinson, and then Barnes set as the boundary side D end slash outside linebacker. I like him in that position. I like him and Anzalone and Campbell on the field together, but I like Barnes and Anzalone lined up on the same side because they both have the ability to cover the running back. Anzalone's got more uh, effectiveness, efficiency covering tight ends than Barnes does. He's the only one that offers that. And putting them both, not on every single snap, but putting them both into the boundary together, I think gives you tremendous versatility. Veteran guys who are able to make checks. Campbell to the field would have less pass coverage responsibility on running backs in particular. They're both very good at the point of attack against the run. When I say both, I mean Barnes and Anzalone. Barnes is more of a downhill right now guy. I think you kind of saw that on the play against the Packers that I showed, where Barnes and Anzalone lined up left and right, and then they actually kind of crossed because of the split flow nature of the play. And Anzalone was able to get to the quarterback, Jordan Love, excuse me, not Julian Love, and have a quarterback hit to force an incompletion. Barnes is more of a downhill right now guy. Anzalone is a little bit more patient. So, in summary, I do think Anzalone has a point. There's not another Alex Anzalone on this roster, if you ask me. They're different players, all three of them. Is Anzalone worth more than 6 million a year for this defense? I think there's something to be said for that. I can't really offer a final opinion on it, but in a perfect world, I'd like to see him paid more for 2025. Um, he came back probably early last year, and the team needed him. It didn't work out. Next year has to be a far lowered cap hit if they are able to agree on anything. To me, it probably can only be a 2 year deal. I don't really get the chance to listen to other people's content, so this is just my own thoughts. I just don't see any way that the Lions could do anything in a 3 year deal for Anzalone, given that Campbell's still going to be around. Derek Barnes has been signed. Um, Could they make it work with a larger amount for this year? That would be, I think, the preferred strategy. It's possible, I guess. I would think that Anzalone would be more happy with his place being secured for 2026 while gaining an increase for the season, but perhaps that's, too glossy of a view. Detroit has no cap space for next year at all. In fact, they're in the negative. But this year, they're third in the league in available cap space. So it seems clear to me they want to maintain the ability to acquire talent at or before the trade line. And they should, right? They might need help at defensive end. They might need help at offensive line at that standpoint. Who knows? It's an extremely difficult schedule this year, in my opinion. Anzalone getting an increase for this season and possibly 2026 to me, from my eyes, looks like a possible compromise, but I don't know that he's really in their plans for 2026. Who knows? You're more than welcome to let me know what your personal thoughts on it are in the comment section, and or what you've seen from perhaps more educated people that have the time to pay attention to the intricacies of it. I just saw Anzalone's interview and just kind of made some of my own, evaluations based on the film and the way that I have some awareness of Detroit's cap space issues for 2026 and how much available cap space they have for this season right now. I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. And then number two, if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look / commentary on Alex Anzalone's play, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.